we go. Part 9. Nam, for the sake of Tegende, of covering up his ignobility, his lowliness, everyone who was conscious of his birth, which was lowly, he intermitted them, he killed them. Nanolos, some, etiam, even amicos, friends, who often to him, for the sake of his poverty, his paupitatis, they were pitying him, they had donaveranted, they had given him many things, plerically. 2. Nequianum, for it was there, a more cruel animal, comparative, in all the world, terrasomnia, thus, whoso would ponend place in his strength, as if he was non posset to be killed, if he was not able to be killed. So he's a cruel animal, put all these everything on his own strength as though he couldn't be killed. 3. Deniqui, finally, when immortal, he almost credited himself, or almost believed himself to be, because of the magnitude of his corpus, of his body, and virtutis, as we saw yesterday, his strength. There was a mimus quidem. There was a certain mime in the theatre, illo presente, with him present, who had dixissid, who had said, it is said that he said these verses, Greek verses, of which this is the sentiment in Latin, or this is what it was about in Latin. 4. And qui, and he who abuno by one is not able to be killed, is accittated, is killed by many. The elephant grandus, the big elephant, huge elephant, it's accittated, it's killed. The leo fortis est, the lion's brave and it's killed, accittated. Tiger is fortis and it's killed. Cave, beware, imperative of the many, if non times, if you do not fear them singularly. In these things, with the emperor himself present, Yam was said. 5. But when he interrogated his amicus, his friends, what the scurra mime had dixessed, the mime, scurra is more like a clown or a comedian, dictum est to him, this is what was said to him, that these were antique verses he was singing, old verses, contra a homines asperos scriptos, they were written against a very asperous or harsh man, and he, as he was a Thracian and a barbarous, he believed it, he credited it. 6. Nobilem circase neminum passus est. He allowed passus est, neminem, no one, circase around himself, noble, no nobleman around himself. Absolutely, ut as, he was ruling exactly as the example of Spartacus or Athenas. I think we know who Spartacus is. Athenos was a Sicilian slave who led a slave revolt in Sicily in 104 BC and terrorized the island. He was finally defeated by Manius Aquilinus in 101 or 100 BC. Anyway, praetor. Besides, all the ministers of Alexander, in various modus, various ways, he intermitted them as well, he killed them. 8. Dispositionibus's of him, so all the placings of in power of Eus would be Alexander, he invicted them. He hated them, begrudged them. And while he had his suspected friends and the ministers, people who carried out positions of him, he factus est crudelia, he became more crueler. 10. Vena set ita moratus, I think moratus comes from mores, when thus he had been in this sort of character, as he lived in the mores, these two must go together, of what he became more in the way of a wild beast. And factus est, he became tristia, more grimmer, and menior, and more monstrous. With a faction of a certain Magnus of a consular Via, he was prepared to go contra him, against him, and made a revolt against him with his faction, who with multus milibuses, with many soldiers and centurion buses, they had entered into a concilium to confodiendum him, to stab him, in which he desired to transfer the imperium onto himself. Okay, so we'll have an adjective that I set up here, moratus, moratum, endowed with characters or manners of a specific kind. It's also gentle and civilized, but that's not this case. It was characters or mannerisms in this type of way. Okay, en Kale, which is the neuter version of it, and such was the genus of this faction, such was the type of this faction, that cum, with a bridge joined, Maximus wanted to transire, cross over into the German side of a bridge. He joined some land masses with a bridge. It was placor added. It was decided or pleasing that those who were contrary to him should transire cum eo with him, and poste afterwards they would dissolve the bridge or break the bridge up. He would be in the barbarico side and circumventus. He would be surrounded on the barbarian side and acquittated. He would be killed. And Magnus, the nominative, would ariperet, the verb, the accusative, which is also a neuter. He would seize power. 3. 4. Coiperet agere. He began to wage omnia bella, all types of wars, and quidem indeed, very bravely or boldly, start him immediately as factus as emperor, as soon as he'd become emperor. Inasmuch as, utpote, he was experienced of genitives of military matters, he was volens, wanting, present participle, to tenere, to hold, the volens comes from volio, which takes the infinitive, to have this estimation which was considering him, that he had, and before all, the glory of Alexander, whom he had killed. So he wanted to keep the estimation of himself, and I guess get more, since he'd killed this guy, and he wanted to do vincere, to win glory for himself. 4. Quare imperator etiam. So therefore, even as emperor, in daily exercitia, is that actually spelt right? It's probably exercise or something. He would detain the soldiers in daily exercise, and he was himself in arms, and he would, with his own hand, dative to the army. He was showing always many things. He would ostend to the army with his hand and with his body. So he got in amongst them and exercised with them. Okay, I'll just check the lobe, and that is a spelling typo. It was the exercito. So 5. And quidem, and indeed this faction prohibited, it is said, Maximus himself thinks it. He created this so that he could increase the material to show off his brutalitas, his cruelty. So we're almost done for the day. 6. Deniqui. Finally, without a judicial inquiry, without accusations, without a delator or informer, and without a defence, he killed omnes, all of them. He sustulated all their goods, he took away all their goods, and more than 4,000 men, Occhises killed. He was not able to satiate himself. So, killed 4,000 people, still wasn't happy. And that's it for the day.